what to see in like our everyday life is oftentimes we are not in a physical threat. Usually it's not a lion about to attack us, right? That doesn't
Right.
happen. It could be a car about to hit us, but usually that doesn't happen either. So most of the times our nervous system is activated due to an internal response, right? We have this deadline coming up. Our boss putting pressure on ourselves, us putting pressure on us because what we make things mean, what do we make the like, so just starting to identify, I think, is the first thing to start regulating. Identify what is it that is triggering my nervous system now. What is it that I'm feeling that make me feel unsafe?
Welcome back to the Essence Show and podcast. I am so excited to be here with one of my most special people, seriously, in the whole wide world. The way that we met is just like a whole manifestation story in itself. And she's going to be joining me as the co-host and guest on the Fuck It Energy series episode today. So welcome, Mikaela. Mikaela, like I said, we go way past just like work support, like coaches, all of that good stuff. And we actually have like such a beautiful friendship. I'll speak for myself, but yes. But she is a business mentor and success coach and is doing such incredible work in the world, specifically relating to burnout, overworking, and the nervous system. So really being able to regulate the nervous system, being able to work together to feel safe in your up level, in your expansion. And yeah, do the work that you're here to do in the world with feeling also fulfilled on an internal and energetic level. So excited to have her here today, and I'll pass the mic over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this call. I don't know how, like I said, I so appreciate our friendship too. It's not a one-way street. And like, I don't know how many times we've been saying, just chatting, like we should have recorded this.
Yeah.
I mean, so many times. So I'm so glad that we're finally doing this. And this topic, I feel, is like, yeah, just loving it.
Yeah, I actually, I didn't even mention what the topic was. The topic is the body sets the tone, or your body sets the tone. So we're going to talk about like I just mentioned, the nervous system regulation, working together with our body, the signs that our body gives us, et cetera, et cetera. So now I will hush and let you actually introduce yourself.
No, but so good. So good. Yeah. So like I said, I'm a business mentor and success coach, helping high achievers, entrepreneurs, leaders, to build a sustainable, fulfilling, balanced life so that we don't burn ourselves out in the streak of building our dream lives, right? Mm. And how much that is linked with our nervous system, how we think about things, how our internal world is such a huge component of actually being able to expand into that. And simply just growing that awareness of how everything is intertwined and linked together, and how we, when we're attuned with our body and our mind, get so much clues and information on a daily basis on how we can create a better well-being and fulfillment for ourselves. And that's literally the work, to connect back in with self again and becoming our true, authentic version, so that we can bring all those gifts that we are here to give to the world out there without burning ourselves out in the meantime.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So powerful. And like, I know, like you said, we've had so many conversations where we've said, oh my God, this could have been like a podcast episode. We should have recorded that. So this is going to be like a boiled down version of all of that. But you and I have such an aligned message in that sense, and also value, which is just like not sacrificing yourself for the grind, or not sacrificing your well-being. And so often, so many of us do that. And we actually get to the point of feeling physically ill in our bodies, like our physical being suffers based on the emotional pressure and weight and effect that we're putting on our bodies through this pressure to show up and succeed and be a certain version of ourselves that we think will be accepted. So let's maybe start there, like at the beginning of your story, because you have just an incredible journey and you've really healed your physical body in a lot of ways up until this point. So let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah. Back to beginning. That was me, 25-year-old, being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that only hits middle-aged men. Woohoo! No, I started having a lot of pain in my back, and hip, or hips. Pain that was moving around, didn't make any sense. It kept me awake during the nights. I literally couldn't find what was wrong with me. And since it was a disease that usually strikes middle-aged men, they didn't look for that at the first. But the way of, for anyone that isn't familiar with autoimmune diseases are named that because we don't know its origin. We do not know how to heal it. Or the Western medicine, let's put it that way, are managing the symptoms because there is no way to heal the root cause, because we do not know the root cause, okay? So the way you treat it is to suppress the immune system, to not attack it's the own body, right? Because that's how you define an autoimmune disease. I felt, though, as that is to kind of remove the battery from the fire alarm instead of taking out the fire. My symptoms are not here for no reason. They're here for a reason, and by suppressing them, I ignore that. Like, and I felt like that's a dead end. Like,
Yeah.
I can never heal that way, and I do not want to go that way. So that was a very, very strong intuitive pull that I felt that I cannot explain in any other way, because it was not logic. What do I know? I mean, I studied holistic health, and nutrition, and I like had all these like the foundations of that, but I'm not a doctor, so I cannot explain it in any other way that I felt an intuitive pull to go down this alternative route. So I turned down the medicine they wanted to give me, and I absolutely revamped my entire life. And that meant looking at all the different aspects or all the different areas of my life, because this disease is an inflammatory disease, causing my spinal cord and pelvis to stiffen up and like build. Yeah, so it's not as movable as before, and that's why it gets painful. So I was looking in all the ways I created inflammation in my body, and that started with changing my diet and eating an anti-inflammatory diet. I was taking supplements that were anti-inflammatory. But if you're in a abusive, not that hard, a very bad relationship, that is very inflammatory.
Right.
So I needed to leave that relationship because we didn't find a way to work together to find a healthy relationship. I was looking into all my friendships and how that had an effect on me, and also my mindset. How was I talking to myself? The pressure I was putting on myself, the people pleasing that I was doing. I was constantly always aware about my surrounding, wanting to please it, which meant I was in a constant survival mode. My nervous system was always activated. And you call it the fight and flight, activated sympathetic nervous system, and then you have the rest digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. What I didn't understand at the time, or what I got to know at the time, was that when we are in a constant survival mode, there is no chance for the body to heal, because it's actually rest, digest, heal, right?
Right.
So my body was, to my belief, my body is always striving for balance, but I was not giving it a chance because of the circumstances I was living in, and the pressure I was putting on myself, the stress I was putting on myself, the high demands. I mean, I've always been a high achiever. I've always been extremely driven and extremely ambitious. But that was literally burning me up, like with inflammation. I mean, that's fire. So it was
Yeah.
literally that what was happening in me. And by then starting to become aware of what was driving me, why I was doing all these different protection strategies that I learned to see that it was the people pleasing and the self-sacrifice and the overworking, and all this were just protection strategies. And starting to regulate my nervous system to be safe, to do things differently, because that was the thing. I had been doing all these things for so long that doing it in a different way, choosing me, meeting my needs, respecting myself, was wildly uncomfortable, and started that stress symptom in me just because it was the unknown, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And slowly but certainly, I have getting rid of the symptoms and the pain. But that to say, when I misbehave, or when something happens in my life, when I, for some reason, choose to put myself aside, or like, the symptoms will come back. So it's always this practice of balance. My body will tell me right away, hey, Mikaela, don't forget me. Don't forget me. I'm here. Remember me. And that is like such a game changer. Like, those body symptoms is our way, or the way of our, oh my goodness, how can I put this? Is the way that our body communicates to us, because it can send us an email or give us a call, say, hey, this is up, right? It's the only way language it knows.
Totally.
So, yeah, if there's something I want to leave people with, don't take an aspirin.
Listen to your body.
Listen to your
but
body.
I mean, I talk about this a lot too when it comes to your menstrual cycle and your period pains, and like even things like that. And I mean, my whole life I was so conditioned, like, take an Advil, like, you're fine, like, go back to class when I was like in school in pain, and you don't even consider the fact that that's not something that you have to do. And on top of that, that it's actually your body communicating with you. It's your body saying, hey, there's something here that's off. Or I even at the baseline, like, sometimes it's just, I need attention. Like, how can you give me more attention? Sometimes even like period pains, and I don't get period pains nearly as badly as I used to, but they sometimes still come up, and it's like, okay, like, it's just a sign for me to slow down and rest. And as soon as I do that, they go away.
They're like,
And it's just,
thank you.
and sometimes I feel like that's also nice to know, like, it's just communication. Like, not every single thing that happens is like this big, like, life or death, life threatening thing where you're like, oh my God, I have to fix this. Sometimes it's just like, pause. It is your body communicating with you that it's time to pause.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think especially if you have a past as a very driven, ambitious person that has sacrificed yourself for external pursuit, right?
Yeah.
Your body is kind of very wired to, like, hey, don't forget me, in this like realizing our dreams, right? So
Yeah.
even though we come into that with more awareness now, since we crashed into the wall a couple of times, like, that is going to happen. It happened naturally, that the body gets anxious, that, oh, will this happen? Is this a loop back again into that burnout, like, or
Yeah.
into that overextension of ourselves? And how to deal with that, how to regulate that, how to make the body and the nervous system feel safe in realizing all our dreams and having success and all those things, because that is also wildly unsafe, or because it's the unknown, so it's perceived as unsafe. Even though it's something we absolutely want, which is mind-blowing.
It's kind of a mind fuck. Yeah. So let's dive into the nervous system a little bit more, and like, how do we regulate our nervous system? Because ultimately, like, this, I would say, is kind of like the pathway to creating sustainability and to creating success that feels safe, and also for moving yourself out of burnout, creating sustainable success where you don't fall back into burnout, and also at the same time healing your body, because like you were mentioning, when you don't feel safe where you're at, on the one hand, it's often a sign of misalignment, because like you said, and I was going to ask you this before too, you're like, there was inflammation in my body. And then it's like, and there was inflammation in my life, like you said, with like your relationships and stuff. And I have had that same experience as well. And you're like, wow, like this was a physical sign showing me and mirroring something externally that wasn't in alignment and asking me and pushing me to come back into alignment. So I kind of see like nervous system regulation, like it's the train tracks in our body as along with the subconscious mind, because they work together.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how are we like click, 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 like changing the train tracks and also working with like actually moving the trains around on the train tracks. I don't know if that's going to make any sense later when we actually talk about it, but in my mind right now it does. Because like nervous system regulation is like through the body, moving through the body, connecting with the body. And I kind of see that as like the pathway for getting to that place of creating safety so that we can call in the success that we want. Does that ring true to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like those trains moving around, like got a very beautiful picture there, very
Thank you.
playful and like childlike. I love it. Yeah, I would absolutely say that first key is to start seeing what is a stress response. What is a sign that our nervous system is activated? Because most of us have no clue. Like, if you can see yourself, like, breathing more shallow, feeling your heartbeat increasing, feeling like your energy move up, like you don't feel like grounded. Like sometimes it feels like we like get stuck in our head, or like we overthink things. We might forget things more easily. We feel brain fog. And we might feel pressure over our chest, like just starting to realize. I was talking to a client that was he had actually had like his vision fall out twice.
His vision, he became blind for a moment.
He became blind for a moment.
Wow.
Like if that is not a stress symptom, what is? Like and just, I mean, that is very hard to deny that is a stress response, right? But that also says that he has been dragging out for quite some long time. He probably have had a lot of different cues before that.
Yeah.
That he's been ignoring. And, the one knocking at the door is knocking louder and louder if you're not opening the door.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's such a good point to make, because I was thinking about that before too. Like there are levels to the cues that we get. And like, on the one hand, we have a normalized higher level of stress in our society today, which is it's not a different topic, but it's kind of one level where it's like, okay, you're going through the day, you're feeling more tired, you're feeling more exhausted, the brain fog, forgetfulness, things like that. And it's like, if that happens from time to time and you're noticing it and then you're regulating it and you're really in that cycle of being with yourself as those things come up, that's kind of like one level in my mind. And then the next level is like, as things progress and then things start to come up more and more and more and more, like you said, like the blindness. Or for example, for me, one of the things that I always got was like strep throat. And the other thing that I had was really terrible digestion pain. And it's like all of these things are cues.
Yeah.
And like initially it'll be like, oh, I'm like a little bit tired, or I'm this or that. And then they will develop into things that reflect what you're emotionally experiencing. So like, I don't know, you don't need to share anything about your client, but like the blindness, like what are we not looking at? What are we not seeing? Like the throat, for me, it was like speaking up for myself, speaking my truth, being able to speak loudly and like be heard. And then the digestion is like, this is your power center. This is also like your sacred masculine energy, and like completely out of whack, like self-worth non-existent in a lot of ways. So like it's really powerful when you start to like, again, like go up the levels then.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to like go off on a tangent, but the
so on the point.
But like it expands then. And I think unless you're in this world doing this work, you're probably not on the first ground level. Like most of us, because we're not listening, we're not paying attention. We go to work and then we come home and then we feel a little bit tired and we're like, oh, tomorrow will be better. Or like, I just need to finish this project, or I just need to get to that next level income, or I need to just move to that new house and then I'll take a break, or then I'll do this. And we're living in this like when I do this, then I'll be happier, then I'll have this or whatever kind of mentality. And that's when like it builds up and we shove the emotions aside, we shove the physical pain aside, we ignore the small symptoms. And we've also been taught not to really value like, oh, I'm like a little bit tired today.
Yeah.
I
We
think I'm
take
going to go
another
home.
take
I'll
another
take
cup of
another coffee.
coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do. That was the example we was given. Like we cannot know any better because we haven't been taught how the fuck to deal with this, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So of course we're in this.
Totally. So when we're talking about the nervous system then, and
Yeah.
like I said, and we both agreed, like this is the pathway then.
Yes.
This is how we work together with our body, because like that can also feel like super overwhelming. You're like, okay, I feel these physical symptoms. I'm not really connected or in tune with my body, or maybe I am a little bit, but like, oh my God, where do I start? Like, do I journal? Do I meditate? Like those are external things. Do I like, I don't even know how to breathe. Like I like things that we don't even know. So like when it comes to actually starting this path, what are the ways that we can start regulating our nervous system?
Yeah, I was just I just wanted to come to that because what I think is really good to know is that the way our nervous system like physically function is our amygdala in the back of our heads, like is connected to the rest of our bodies through nervous, what is it called? To nerves.
Through
nerves
and the neurons. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this, we have heard about the vagus nerve, right? So this is a two-way street. So it's both from the physical sensations. If we see a lion, that's going to communicate to our body to start run away. Like, or if we put our hand on the stove, it's hot. It's going to make us remove our hand instantly, right? That's from the outside and in. But then it's also from the inside and out, right? So what we tell ourselves, everyone has walked home especially if you're a girl, walked home late one night and we started to like, fuck, someone's walking behind me. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, you can feel the stress response starting in your body. Pretty obvious, right?
Totally. Yeah. You're ready to like to run or fight potentially.
Exactly. Holding your keys so you can stab.
Even just in your mind, you're like, this isn't happening, but I feel like it might.
Yeah, but exactly, that's it. So what to see in like our everyday life is oftentimes we are not in a physical threat. Usually it's not a lion about to attack us, right? That doesn't happen. It could be a car about to hit us, but usually that doesn't happen either. So most of the times our nervous system is activated due to an internal response, right? We have this deadline coming up. Our boss putting pressure on ourselves, us putting pressure on us because what we make things mean, what we make so just starting to identify, I think, is the first thing to start regulating. Identify what is it that is triggering my nervous system now? What is it that I'm feeling that make me feel unsafe? What is it I'm thinking that make me feel unsafe? And when you do, you can actually just sit with the sensation. Our first instinct is usually to distract ourselves. Scroll on social media, put on the newest episode of Queen Charlotte, call a friend, drink a glass of wine, whatever it might be. Distraction is our first go-to. But with awareness, you can like, no, I'm going to sit and I'm going to observe this. I'm going to hold myself through this. And as you do that, you can do different kinds of like just deep belly breaths. Is super efficient. Anytime one does it, like a deep breathing, it's like, oh, why don't I do this more often? It just feels so good, right? It can be just putting your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly. Just like feel the touch, the warmth from your hands, and just like start to sway a little bit. I really love that one.
Yeah.
Self-hug. Just squeeze yourself, just like bring yourself back to you and bring yourself back to the moment and just hold yourself through the sensations, because oftentimes these stress symptoms or these disturbing emotions or whatever we want to call them only last for 90 seconds if we just watch them, if we don't engage with them. If we engage with them, we can trigger like a domino effect of more feelings. So yes, it will last longer. But if we just observe it, how it appears, play around and dissolve, that usually passes in 90 seconds. But then of course, if we if we feel like anger or frustration or any kind of that, it's really good to use a physical kind of regulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like punch your pillow, go out for an angry run, move your body, like anything from cold exposure to like sauna and like things like that also regulates. I had a situation yesterday. I actually locked out my boyfriend for 1.5 hours. That's very kind, and burned all the food on the stove. I was very upset with myself. And I luckily had rehearsal for a gig because I'm a singer too. So I just went off, sang my butt off for 2 hours, and that was exactly what I needed, because actually the vibration from the vocal cords stimulate the vagus nerve to regulate. So
Mm-hmm.
all these kinds of things are regulating our nervous system, and we can apply them as it fits. As this is not a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are super simple things that we can start implementing as well. Like I love the rage dancing. That's one for me. Like when there's anger, I have like a rage playlist, and I probably look like the biggest psychopath to any neighbor looking into my window. But it really is like we need to let those emotions come through us, because again, otherwise we ignore. And it's like it's not even the physical symptom anymore that we're ignoring. It's the emotional feeling that is then in turn going to build up to a bigger physical symptom. And then we're left dealing with like this big like throat issue or digestive issue or autoimmune disease, because we weren't listening to the smaller cue in the first place and giving space for that emotion to move through us. Like you said, 90 seconds. 90 seconds. You can do anything for 90 seconds. Like that's what they tell you in any workout class. Like hold a plank. You can do it for 90. Okay, maybe they say 30 seconds, but like 90 seconds, you can do it. Like same with cold water. Like you can be in the cold water for 30 seconds, build it up, 90 seconds. Okay. And like you're practicing making the discomfort of something feel safe, because that's where expansion ultimately happens. We can't get the things that we want by staying in our comfort zone. But if the non-comfort zone and the stretch zone per se doesn't feel safe yet, then like how do we make that safe? And I mean, I feel like it really is just a process of doing it, but then having the tools to support you while you're doing it. Like you can't sit on your couch and be like, this is what I imagine it will be like to be in the stretch zone and like visualize it. No, we have to go out and take the actions to do it, and then to have the tools to make that safe for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is expanding life, right? It's like, where's the edge of my comfort zone? Okay. How much can I be uncomfortable here or expand? And how can I stay there so that becomes safe and comfortable? And when I then have a broader comfort zone, I can expand even more. Like, and that is the process of building life the way we want it, right? Or to live that beautiful, fulfilling, purposeful life. Because we also need to remember that being happy can feel wildly unsafe, because then we can lose it all.
Yeah.
Being rich can be wildly uncomfortable and unsafe, because then we can lose it all. So we're so much in pain for not having things, and then we're so much in pain for having things that we might lose. And that's just a human mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like what just came through to me is like that this is like the physical, what's happening on a physical level, and on an energetic level, what you're really doing is you're managing your vibration. Like when you regulate your nervous system, you bring yourself back into a better feeling state, not bypassing something, not pretending it's not there and like implementing some sort of toxic positivity. Can you tell where my brain is? But rather sitting with it, doing the work, moving through it, and then shifting your vibration back to this better feeling state, which in turn is also in alignment with the thing that you want. Like we're not going to be stressed out we're not going to be stressed out when we have the thing that we want. Like when we're rich, when we have that income month, when we have those clients, when we have that house, when we have that vacation, like of course there is a reality potential where we are stressed out when we have that thing, but that's not like that doesn't then we don't have the thing. That's not the thing that we want. We want the feeling of having the physical thing reflected back in how we feel in our bodies, how we feel in our life, how that makes us feel in our day-to-day basis. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it is so like just the wild idea of like us being like safe, confident, feeling grounded, just like allowing our intuition to then be stronger, because that's literally what happened. The scarcity voice is still always going to be there, but it's not going to be as loud, so that it's driving the car. The intuition and the impulses that we get, the information we get, like some call it downloads, channeling, like inspiration, innovation kind of thing, that can just come through because we're a clear channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, literally is where we do our best job. Of course it is. That's when we can deliver all our gifts in the most like genuine, easeful and joyful way. And that's where we can truly enjoy life, because it's literally impossible to feel lust, to feel enjoyment, to feel happiness and gratitude if we are in a survival mode, right? We
Absolutely.
can't.
Yeah.
So just like, that is how important this work is. It's kind of everything. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like that. It's like, why do we do this ride called life otherwise? Because we're gonna suffer?
Totally. You're like, I'm here to feel good. And I will die on this hill. And I fully agree. Like, that is our purpose. Pleasure is our purpose. And it's one of those things where you're like, it is crazy when this is the literal foundation of life, of your success, of your ability to actually gain from being alive in this human physical body experience. And this is not taught in a normal school. This is not taught in a normal corporate work environment. Instead, what's taught is the dominant masculine model of success. And of course, why is
Hustle
that?
and
Well,
grind.
because the hustle and grind, yeah. And like, we need to see who, like, look at the fact of who created that industry and that sphere, and like, not to make that inherently wrong, but there are other ways, and there are ways that work better for us as women as well.
Yes.
And then there's just general ways in which the general public and society, like, we're not focusing on the nervous system. We're not focusing on regulating ourselves. We're living in a heightened level of stress, like all of these things. And it's like, this is the foundation. This is it.
Yeah. It's the only thing we need to feel good.
And done.
Fuck that Prada bag.
Oh my God. So I'm so curious to tie this back to feminine energy and just kind of like how you see that tying into nervous system regulation, because of course I have my perspective and answer to this, but I want to see yours. And also kind of pairing that with, how do you use this work to guide you on a daily basis? Like, your body setting the tone, letting your body guide you, putting your body first, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I think it's so much of allowing it to be a dance. You know, it takes two to tango, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say you need the masculine and the feminine, like that is the very stereotypical way of looking. You need the man and the woman to do a waltz, right?
I mean, that is the law of balance. Like, within each of us, we need a balance of both of those energies.
Yeah, no matter gender, right?
Right.
So I think it's so much about the masculine and the feminine dancing together in our day to day, and that we are, like I said, tuned in, connected to ourselves, making it self for ourselves to meet ourselves. There was a lot of selves in that sentence. Hope it makes sense, because otherwise we cannot get the input. We cannot cater for our own needs, because usually, like, meeting yourself, it could be that I need 10 minutes of air on a short walk by the river, right? And that will change my complete energy, and that will propel me into the most creative state, making me tick off my to-do list in like half the time that I would have done if I would have sitting down straight away to just force myself to do all those things that I promised people I would do today, kind of thing, right? So it's so much about I like to look at it like as a business owner. Like, of course, I need to show up for my business too, but looking at it as like, what do I need, and what do my business need? What are the small, like, non-negotiables today? And then if I am at a state where I have low energy, if I have like pain, or if anything else that is like something else I need to process, because sometimes that's to the fact I need time to just do the bare minimum, and say, that's good.
Mhm.
That's great. I did great kind of thing. Because I also think it's such what I'm at very much been lately. It's probably some astrological reason for this too. But I have been so much in the energy of like just take the bull by the horn. And that is like both at sitting with myself, is having those hard conversations with my partner or a friend of mine or whatever it might be. It's showing up for my business, maybe taking more space, maybe selling my services more so that I can serve more people and serve my people with my gifts that I know is going to change their lives for the better, right? So just allowing myself to show up in a different way. And that is masculine energy, right? Of just showing up and taking action, right?
Mhm.
But it's coming from this feminine groundedness to start with, where I
Yes.
have met myself first, and
Mhm.
then I can show up in the world. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was an answer to your question, but that was what came up.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. No, that like fucking nailed it right down to it, because it's true. Like the wounded masculine model of success teaches us to show up from a place of lack and fear and scarcity, of like taking action because I should or I need to. It's like ego action. And taking action in a healthy, healed masculine energy, because we're still taking action. That's still the masculine, like external energy. But it's from this place, like you said, of like feeling really grounded in yourself and being in a place of following your intuition, taking aligned action. And the thought that came up to me, and the way that I frame it in my mind, is the nervous system regulation and being in connection with your body is the act of tuning back into your feminine first, so that you can get that download, so that you can take the aligned action from that grounded place.
And from that place, that action won't trigger your nervous system in the same way,
Mm,
because you
yeah.
showed up for yourself first. So you're
Mm-hmm.
safe and can hold that expansion and that action.
Yes. Oh, I love that. It really is the process of like root to rise. When you root down first, when you rise up, the roots are deep enough to hold you, to hold that expansion,
Yeah.
as opposed to like willy nilly, like trying to make things happen from this like hustle, scarcity, stressy energy, and like not having that grounded stability to hold you.
Yeah, exactly like
Mm,
that. So
mm.
good.
I love that. Is there anything else that you feel like we haven't touched on that you really want to share still or talk about?
Ooh, I like something that has come up so much lately is the fact of how much energy it takes and steal from us to package, mask, adjust ourselves, people please, like play small, just in order to be liked by others.
Yes.
How exhausting that is, and how draining that is, to not just be ourselves and be our truest, authentic self and just like be in this world, but to
Yeah.
always try to adjust.
Mm.
It's just
Yeah.
the most draining thing. And
Yeah.
we are so used to it. We're so on autopilot on it that we don't even notice how much energy it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes so much into this, I think, because doing this job is like not comfortable, right? But oftentimes what I hear is that we don't have time or energy to invest in this.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine the energy drainage that is.
Yeah, that's happening right now.
Yes.
And that's exactly the purpose of doing this work, of investing in yourself, of investing your time in yourself,
Yeah.
because that's what you're getting back. Like you're actually going into almost like an energy debt, right? Like you're not spending money, you're
No.
spending energy in ways that is not sustainable,
Yeah.
but you're trying to keep up with this external thing.
Yeah.
I think that this is like a theme right now, because on the episode that I just recorded before
Yeah.
with Priyanka, we also talked about putting on this mask, stepping into something that you think you should be in order to get that success, that validation, that love, that acceptance. And like it is exhausting, and it takes so much more energy to live a life of misalignment than it does to live a life of alignment.
Yes.
It simply takes the courage to move yourself from the comfort zone and into the stretch zone where you can expand so that you can be in alignment.
Yeah. And be yourself. This
Yeah.
is all just a journey of becoming who we are.
Yeah.
Like, I love that quote that is, becoming who you are is unbecoming everything you're not. So it's not about finding ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just allowing ourselves to be our true authentic self.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And how permission giving is that? It's like, I don't need to search outside of myself. I don't need to figure anything out. Like, it's all within me. It's just like peeling back the layers. My mom used to say to me, she was like, your true self is like this light bulb inside of you, and the light bulb just is really dusty. And so it's really dim right now. And so it's your job to go in and like, clean off all of the dust that's like blocking the light.
Ah, your mama. Wendy, come on.
I know. She's
That
got
is
some
so
good
good.
ones.
She sure does. Really. No, but it is that.
Yeah.
We are enough. And how many of us feel not enough
Yeah.
and just capped, and that we're just never, no matter on a personal level or a professional level enough.
Yeah, always striving. And that's exactly, I think at the end of the day, like, yes, you're regulating your nervous system. Yes, you're feeling better on a day-to-day basis. Yes, you're releasing stress and anxiety and overwhelm. But on a bigger scale, like on a life purpose fulfillment scale, it's really coming back to that, like really coming back to the essence of who you truly are and giving yourself permission to show up authentically in that way. And that is the work.
Exactly. And this is the Essence podcast.
Yes, there you go. So to wrap us
Full
up,
circle.
I know, I love a full circle. To wrap us up,
Yeah.
we have our standard little question, which is all about fuck it energy, because this is the fuck it energy series. And just to add a little disclaimer in here again, fuck it energy might not be what it initially sounds like, but it really is flow energy. It's feminine energy. It's saying fuck it to the status quo, literally everything we talked about today, like from people pleasing, overworking, perfectionism, feeling the need to put on a certain mask, like saying fuck it to those parts of yourself, and in a loving, holding way. Like, we're not disregarding or throwing away. We're saying like, this is a narrative that isn't actually who I truly am. So I'm saying no to this. I'm doing the work to shift it, but fuck it energy, showing up in that detachment. So what's an area of your life right now where you would say you're kind of in that fuck it energy or incorporating that fuck it energy?
Oh, to be honest, like the first thing that came up actually applies to all areas of my life, because it's more a fuck it energy or fuck it response to resistance. Wherever I feel resistance right now, or like I do it later kind of thing, I feel such a pull of like I said earlier, taking the bull by the horn and just fucking do it. Like there's no need to extend the suffering, because that's literally what we're doing when we know we need to have that talk or like do that uncomfortable thing, right? We are extending our suffering, which is so stupid because it just takes time and energy and life force.
Right.
I'm not here for that. So I'm so much in the practice of like just going at the resistance, and just also, I think this is Steven Pressfield, like the bigger the dream is, it's like the bigger the resistance is, because it's like the shadow of a object, right?
Right.
So just running at that and just like, okay, let's go for it. Like, it's so rewarding. It's so empowering. And it's the one thing that moves the needle the fastest, I think, because nothing hurts more than treading the same mill and finding ourselves in the same situation over and over again. And we start being really hard on ourselves. And that is draining us even more than anything else. So like finding ourselves in the same situation year after year after year after year. And here we are with the awareness, but not doing anything about it. So just do the uncomfortable, run at the resistance, and fuck
I love it. It's like the monster in the closet, right? Like, you can sit in your bed and be like, oh my God, there's a monster in the closet. There's a monster in the closet, but I'm not going to look because there's a monster in the closet. Or you get up and you're like, I'm going to look at this monster. And you go in and you realize it's like this small, but like you said, it's the shadow. It's the shadow side of ourselves or our ego or whatever trying to protect us. And it's like, am I going to let that resistance be the thing that gets in my way of everything that I desire and actually feeling alignment and fulfillment in my life?
Yeah.
Or am I going to prolong this discomfort? Like the more I prolong it, it's just worry. It's just going to get bigger. It's like as soon as you do the task that you've been putting off for 5 weeks, you're like, oh, that took me like 10 minutes.
Like,
It's the
why
same
did
thing.
I do that to myself?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so powerful. So powerful to do that.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here today on the Essence Show and podcast and having this conversation and going into the nervous system and how we can regulate it and burnout and work and success and just really truly how the body sets the tone for everything that we do and how we can just love and incorporate and hold ourselves and our bodies more through everything that we're doing. So really quickly, where can the good people find you?
First of all, just thank you. Like, I just love this conversation. It's so good. Oh, feeling all fired up now. And I am mostly on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's Mikaela with a K underline the life grant on Instagram. And you probably have to write my LinkedIn tag handle because I probably should get married or something to change my last name. Because that's a hard one in English.
It is a hard one. I'll put it in the show notes and in the description. So you can just scroll down and they will find you either on LinkedIn or on Instagram.
Good. And maybe you can plant the seed to Joachim that he will pop the question.
About the marriage? Yeah, we can definitely make that happen. Yeah.
Please,
I'll have him on the podcast.
Please do.
I think he would hate that.
He would, absolutely. But it would be a really good conversation.
I think he would be. Maybe we'll get him on. We'll get him to listen to this one. If you're listening, Joachim, just consider it.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you. You're the best.